Hey, Motorman here. It's Easter Sunday morning. We don't have a class today, and it's the perfect day for a ride. It's actually a cool day here in Florida for April. It's about 60, I don't know, 62, 63 degrees. We're going to take a ride. It's about a 50-mile ride, about 100 miles round trip up the west coast of Florida. I'll give you a little history about the area as we go along. And this is our first stop here. This is beautiful Hudson Beach. This, of course, is the Gulf of Mexico. And you should know that this part of Pasco County, in fact, you have to go about 25 miles south to get a decent beach with nice white sandy beaches. Here, this is all pretty much man-made. It's all rocks. And, I don't know, once a month or so, they'll throw a couple of bulldozers full of sand on this beach here. If you walk into the water, you're stepping on rocks and lime rock and all kinds of junk that's in the water there. And what it is, this water is very shallow. There are a bunch of islands out this way, probably 6 or 7 miles out, and the beaches on those islands are beautiful. But what happens is, because of the water here being so shallow, the sand never gets washed back up onto the beach. So it's pretty much man-made. Now, if you go, I don't know, about 150, 200 miles north of here, in towards the Panhandle, you get some beautiful beaches. But between the Panhandle and Clearwater, yeah, not much as far as a beach. We've got a shoreline, but it's not a beach that you'd want to visit. And right here we have Sam's Beach Bar. Now, this little bar, I've been here for 42 years. It was originally an ice cream stand. And about 1991, we had what was called the no-name storm. That was a storm that came in about 3 o'clock in the morning, not with any rain, but some heavy winds. Happened to be high tide, and it brought the water all the way up from here about 2 miles to US 19. Everything here was partially underwater. And what happened was, the county said, well, anybody who had a building that had more than 50% worth of damage had to be raised up 14 feet above sea level. Well, this, of course, this building was a lot more than that, but somehow, and this is just a rumor, the people here, I guess, paid off the construction outfits to give them a much lower price. They paid the rest in cash, paid off some county officials, and they never did raise this up to 14 feet above sea level. Again, that's just a rumor. A pretty good rumor, I've heard. But most of the places that have 50% or more damage are raised up, and you'll see trailers sitting 14 feet above the ground, homes, etc. Everything had to be built after that no-name storm, 14 feet above sea level. And it looks really pretty. By the way, Sam's Beach Bar, the food is, yeah, it's kind of frozen, fried stuff. Right across the street is In on the Gulf. Food is superior. I would highly recommend In on the Gulf across the street rather than this place. And this is my wife, Donna. In fact, many years ago, she worked here at Sam's Beach Bar. In fact, the house that we live in was once owned by the people that own this place. We purchased it from them. And she spent a lot of time here. Come about, I guess about 5:30 in the afternoon. This place is just filled with no-see-um gnats that will bite the crap out of you. She worked here for at least a year, Donna?
Oh, 3-4 years.
3-4 years you worked here that long? Yes. She was known as Sam's Beach Bar Donna. Made a lot of money here as a waitress. But the bugs were killer in the summertime. Today's a nice dry day. We shouldn't have any problems with no sea. But again, they come out about 5 o'clock and it lasts until the sun sets. And when the sun sets, then the mosquitoes come out. So, but I guess that's the same way it is any place where you have water and beaches, etc. It looks beautiful, and it is beautiful, but you got to get a nice beach. You got to get on a boat and get out to one of the islands. We're now at another park in Pasco County, and this may look like the Gulf or a bay off the Gulf, but it's actually not. What this is this is originally Sunwest mines. They mine for lime rock, and once they dig down so far, they hit a spring, which is what they did here. And sometimes they continue digging down, but it makes for a nice freshwater park. Don't have to worry about replacing the sand because there's virtually no tide here. And if you go just about a quarter of a mile west, you would actually come to the Gulf. But this is a really nice park. We have here in Pasco, we are king of the county parks. We have over 10,000 county parks in Pasco County. Some of them are just a park bench, and they call it a park, but some are nice like this, and they'll rent boats out here and kayaks and stuff. It's a great place to go. In the summertime, this water, just like the Gulf, heats up to about 90 degrees. In fact, starting next weekend is the first time we're going to hit 90, and we won't drop below 90 degrees during the day until November. So for 6 months, we have wonderful weather. For 6 months, it's 90, 95 degrees every single day. Except when it's raining, which is usually every single day. It'll rain for a couple of hours. But this is another park in Pasco County. We're known as King of the Parks. And most of them are just about as empty as this park. Now, this is Arapika that we're in right now. This is actually Weeki Wachee Springs. This water you see here, and it's mixing with the Gulf water. I'll show you on the other side of the road. That's the Gulf of Mexico. Again, very shallow here. In order to be able to go in and out on boats, you have to follow those markers, or you will wind up running aground, no question about it. A lot of people fish from this bridge, depending on the tides, etc. They're pulling some pretty big fish, but you got to remember, as you can see, I don't know if you can see this on camera, there's an awful lot of rocks down there. So if you come fishing in this area, you better bring plenty of hooks and sinkers with you. Current is pretty strong, coming in and out because of the fresh water meeting the salt water. Runs along here, pretty good current. When we had the no-name storm, this entire area was underwater. In fact, every road that you're going to see us riding on back in, I think, 90 or 91, when that storm came in, was completely underwater. Probably about 3 or 4 feet of water covered this entire road. Well, maybe not to the bridge, but that's we're about 8 or 10 feet above sea level with this bridge. But all the roads were underwater. It only lasted for about 6 or 8 hours, and as soon as the tide went out, it was back to normal. But it was very bad for people because there was no warning. When I say no-name storms, because they didn't name it, they didn't know it was coming. Hit at 3 o'clock in the morning and caught everybody by surprise. Many of the trailers were completely totaled, almost $300 damage. Okay, I'm kidding. But it's pretty. Okay, we're now on Pine Island. There's probably 2 or 3 dozen Pine Islands in the state of Florida, and this is one of them. If you can see out there the brown in the water there, that's because it's very shallow. When the tide goes out, you're actually there is no water there. And if you look down in here, I don't know if you can see that, but there's plenty of fish here. It is shallow. I think we're at low tide right now, where the tide is going out, or it's coming back in. I'm not sure. By the way, this road right here that we were just traveling on, back in 1962, Elvis Presley made a movie here called Follow That Dream. And this was a brand new road at the time, and it was used, part of it was used in the movie. Between here and Yankeetown, which is about 50 miles north of here, it looks exactly the same. That's where they filmed this entire movie. In fact, the area where they knocked down some trees and put some sand up to make it look like a beach, the area is still there. The trees have grown back. The sand is long gone. But that was Follow That Dream, 1962, filmed in the month of June, which must have been brutal for the actors, because by June it's 95 degrees every day. These are the mangroves. This is what it actually looks like when they don't channel this out. No nice beaches in this area. It's all sort of, they call it mangroves, I call it swampland. And we're going to take this to the end where there's yet another park. Okay, this is the end of the road. This is the end of Pine Island. Nice little beach here. Again, they got to keep putting sand here because every time the tide goes out, it takes the sand out. And there's plenty of islands out there to catch all the good sand. And I said this is yet another park. Now, if we wanted to continue on this ride, we have to go out to US 19, go about 10 or 12 miles north, and then head towards the water once again, but it's only for about a 6 or 7 mile stretch each time you head towards the coast. But it's a nice ride for a Sunday. We are at the only tourist attraction in the area. This is the Weeki Wachee Springs with the live mermaids. I'm sure you've heard of them. This is the first tourist attraction, in fact, in all of Florida. It was built by the Weeki Wachee Indians. They invented the glass bottom canoes. It could only take like 2 people at a time in them, and the glass was very thin back then, but they got the idea for the glass bottom boats that you find in a lot of these springs, because the water is crystal clear. By the way, the water here in this spring stays at 72 degrees all year long. They've now got slides, water slides, a water park in here, and of course the mermaid show. Many years ago, I dated a mermaid from Weeki Wachee. She had great lungs. You know, breathing capacity was great. The next closest tourist attraction would have to be Busch Gardens down in Tampa. And you ever go down there, you'll quite often run into George Bush, former president. Yeah, he owns that place.